Hi everybody, how are you? Are you online? Let me see if I can tag some of you, get you in here if you are online or even if you're not. Yes, I want to have a conversation about police brutality and George Floyd and sort of what's going on right now. So I'm tagging some of you to see if I can get you to join me here because I think it's really important to have this conversation. So much is going on right now, and I myself have been I've been having difficulty functioning very well today. So let me see if I can tag some of you, get you involved in this conversation because I think we need to have this conversation. Hi, Carmen Dixon. Hi, Aylin. How are you? Thank you. Say hi if you're on. I would love to know who's on and who's part of this conversation. But I wanted to have a conversation around George Floyd and the protests that are going on. Hi, Neha. Thank you for joining. And give some context to folks because I think some people see these images of the police station on fire and people shutting down highways and things of that nature. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Neha. Yes, thank you for saying hi. Okay, no worries. If you're not up for this discussion, please do not join. This conversation is really for people who are wondering why is this happening. So if you know why this is happening, please don't let me traumatize you by having this conversation. But I wanted to provide some context for my friends who aren't as knowledgeable or engaged in police accountability activism. And I'd like to talk about why is it that people are so frustrated. And it is because we know very well from our own record keeping, not because the federal government keeps track of this, but because activists keep track of this, that there are over 1,000 people killed by police every year. And of course, we only hear a handful of these cases, largely the ones that are on video, largely the ones that are done in urban areas. But actually, most police violence does not occur in big cities, is not recorded on videos. It's being done on Native American reservations. It's being done in the Central Valley of California and rural places where we don't it's frequently not recorded. And in fact, a friend today posted a video of a police murder that just occurred in Hayward, California. And it's just absolutely disgusting. But so in 2016, 2015, December 2nd, 2015, San Francisco Police Department surrounded Mario Woods, who was a very short stature, thin African-American man, 26 years old, standing with his back up against a wall. And the SFPD surrounded him like an execution squad, and they literally executed him. And the video, there were hundreds of people who saw this. They shut down the street, and there was a school bus, so all the kids saw it. There was a it's where the train goes by. They stopped the train. Everybody on the train watched it. So many people videotaped it and posted it. And within a couple hours of it happening, my mentee and dear friend Anthony Josie, who lives in Queens, posted it to my Facebook. And so when I first saw it, I thought it was New York, and then I realized it was right here in San Francisco. In fact, it was very close to an organization that I was raising money for, which was a clinic for young people. And that was a few blocks away with mental health services. And I was like, well, why, if SFPD had just come to us and said, hey, there's a young man here, we're trying to apprehend him, and he's resisting, we could have gone and apprehended him. It just made me so furious. So I finally, got active in police accountability activism. And, when I started, I thought, I'm a reasonable person, they're a reasonable person, we can reform police. I thought, we can do oversight or change the laws or, I don't know. Through activism, we can get them under control. And what I came to understand is that actually the police in our society are a sui generis racist institution. So the police in our country are rooted in the runaway slave patrols. So during the time of slavery, all men in slave states, all white men in slave states, had to spend a certain number of weeks per year. It was like the draft kind of situation, serving on these militias to capture runaway enslaved people, and also to remove and genocide Native Americans. That's the function of these militias. And this is the origin of policing in America. So after the Civil War, Lincoln created the Homestead Act, and so they genocided, and removed all the Native Americans in the western part of the United States. And then they said, okay, white people from the north, you can move here and homestead on this land that's now available because there's no Native Americans living on it. But they didn't do that for the Confederate soldiers. They didn't do it for the people who were in the South. Instead, they offered the Confederate soldiers to come and be the sheriffs. So that is the origins of policing in the whole Western United States, including here in California, where our police really originated as a vigilante force to protect the propertied class from the poor people. And that's the genesis of SFPD, as well as LAPD and all these other police departments here in California. And really, it goes all the way up to the federal government. So why is it for every 1,000 people killed by police, you only have a handful of convictions, is largely rooted in Supreme Court case law that basically the Supreme Court said being a police officer is a very dangerous job, and it's not our position to second guess what, whether there was intention behind someone killing someone. So they created this standard that makes it extremely difficult to successfully prosecute police officers for excessive use of force. You combine that with juries and anti-Blackness and the pro-police bias that is pervasive in our society, that's only all of our obsession with law and order and all these TV shows depicting police as heroes, et cetera, et cetera. There's such a strong pro-police bias that also makes it extremely difficult to get a conviction. And then you couple that with police unions. So some people like to say, oh, they're not all police aren't bad. Like there's just a couple of bad apples in there, but they aren't all bad. Thanks for the historical. This level of insight is purposefully hidden. Yes, it is purposefully hidden. Very much so, Colette. So people like to say, oh, it's just one or two officers. It's not everybody, it's a couple bad apples. But here's the truth. All the police officers pay dues into the police union. And the function of the police union, and I am like a very pro-union person, right? I do not, I stand with unions. I believe in unions. I want there to be more unions, but not police unions, because police unions are really a political action group and an interest group to protect police and keep them shielded from any form of accountability. And what they do is they hire attorneys to represent police. So the quote unquote good cops dues is being paid in to fund the lawyers who defend the bad cops, right? So everybody is complicit in this. And the pressure that they put on each other. And it's interesting, people say, oh, well, diversify the force and make it more local and all of this stuff, but that doesn't work either, because then they put more pressure on the officers of color to conform to this same corrupt, brutal groupthink mindset that they have. And this is why people are so freaking frustrated. And I want to ask you, name me one political official, one elected official out there who is calling for police, for changing the laws, who is calling to demand that we stop protecting police. I can't name one. I mean, well, here in San Francisco, we just elected a radical district attorney who previously served as a public defender. So he's like maybe one. There's Larry Kramer in Pennsylvania. But other than that, I can't name anybody, y'all. This is how many thousands of elected officials. Do you see anyone in Washington, D.C. doing anything about this? No. No, and don't forget that Trump was endorsed by 4 groups, right? He didn't get many group endorsements, but the 4 groups that did come out and endorse Trump were the National Rifle Association, the Border Patrol Union, the National Fraternal Order of Police, and the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, which in my mind is one big group of armed, angry white men who are willing to commit violence to preserve their hold on power. And that is what this is all about. It is about preserving power. And they are not accountable to anyone. They are not accountable. And trust me, I mean, we have incredible activists here in the Bay Area. I learned so much from these incredible activists and leaders who've been doing this for a very long time, okay, and are really excellent organizers. And we worked so hard to call for justice, and so many people, so many hours, the families of the victims of police brutality. And I see someone is here watching, Luis Gongura, Pat. So Jose Gongura, right, lost his cousin to police brutality here in the streets of San Francisco. Thank you for watching, Jose. So so we're out there raising hell, you know, Justice for Mario Woods Coalition, led by Felicia Jones, just doing incredible stuff. And we succeeded in getting the U.S. Department of Justice to come to San Francisco and to review the police department. And while they are here, that is when they go and kill Jose Gongura's cousin. Okay, they roll up, SFPD rolls up, gets out of the car, and within 22 seconds, they've shot his head laying on the street. Okay, he gets killed while the U.S. Department of Justice is here. And we also have a blue ribbon panel also doing oversight. And that is how these officers feel like they have no accountability whatsoever. They do not care whatsoever about any level of oversight. They'll just go on killing people. And then in May, so that was in April of 2016. In May of 2016, they killed Jessica Nelson Williams. So this was a 29-year-old Black woman who was pregnant, and she was in a car, and they shot her in the car. Okay, again, U.S. Department of Justice is here, Blue Ribbon Panel is here, all these hyper-engaged activists are here. And they still felt like they could shoot her in a car. Now, and which is a violation of police policy, okay? In San Francisco, you're not allowed to shoot at a car. So what I'm trying to say, fortunately, we had this incredible group, the Frisco Five activists, Maria Cristina Gutierrez and Ilyich Sato and Edwin Lindo and Selassie and Ike Ali Pinston, who sat in front of the frickin' Mission Police Department and went, I can't remember, I think it was like 20 days without eating, and these incredible physicians from UCSF, Rupa Maria, and these incredible physicians came and like helped them, and we in the community were there all the time, supporting them and praying for them. All of that, we through all of that, we were able to get the police chief fired. So we got Greg Sir fired, okay? And we did get some other wins too. Like we got a new use of force policy passed. We did get now Chesa Boudin elected as the district attorney, which is really good. But despite all of this activism, were we able to get a conviction of any of these cops? No. We did not get a conviction of any of those cops, nor was it even determined to be excessive use of force. Even for Alex Nieto, who was eating a burrito on Bernal Hill, this is a native San Franciscan and a newcomer to San Francisco, called the SFPD on him and mistook him for a gang member because he was wearing a red 49ers jacket, and they thought he might be like a gang member. I mean, the SFPD rolled up and shot him 59 times, and that was not considered excessive use of force, okay? These officers remain on the force. Like, basically, they shoot someone, they go on paid leave, they take their kids to Disneyland. This process goes through. It's determined that whatever they did was within policy, and then they come back on the force. No problem. Okay? This is our tax dollars at work. Okay? We are paying for this. And we don't know. We don't know if when we need to call 911, if who's going to show up is a normal one, or is one of the ones who killed somebody, or who sent a text message using the N-word and an umpteen million other racist slurs and everything else, which SFPD also does with impunity. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is 2 years ago tonight, actually, May 28th, 2018, this just popped up on my Instagram, my memory, was that that was the day that it was announced that the killers of Mario Woods and the killers of Luis Gongura Pat would not be charged with anything. And so, and I mean, meanwhile, the mothers on the march, they were there. They've been at the frickin' 850 Bryant in front of the district attorney's office every single Friday for like years, okay? Trying to get the district attorney to charge these people. So this is why people are so fucking furious, and why we see the police station on fire in Minneapolis, because there is never any accountability. It's like unbelievable. Okay? Anyone else does any of these things, if you or I did any of these things, what would happen to us? We would be held accountable. Well, maybe not me, because I'm a white woman. You know, I probably, you know, they would give me the benefit of the doubt, but we would be held accountable. But somehow the police, who are supposed to be, you know, protecting us, are allowed to do all these things, and nothing ever happens to them. The only, you know, they just keep on collecting their salary, and then they retire and they have this fat pension. And what I'm trying to say is, folks, we cannot reform them. They can't be reformed. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can be, you know, I'm on this committee for the bias work group and this and that. We can do all this stuff, and it does not make one iota of difference. So the only solution is to take the police and shrink them down to zero and start over, folks. We cannot fix this mess. We have to defund them. And what that is going to take is the majority of us who are white need to get down to our city councils, to our mayors, and demand that we shrink the police force. Do not request more police. Demand we request the police force. And there was a really interesting article about it today in the New Republic, how right now, because of the economic contraction caused by coronavirus, you know, cities are going to have to slash their budgets. You better believe the police are in there, you know, demanding that they not be slashed. And they're very politically powerful. We need to get in there and demand that the police be shrunk down, okay? We don't need, like, so many of the reasons why police are called is because people are having mental health duress, okay? We do not need police officers to respond to a mental health duress. We need to have, we need to have mental health professionals. When someone is in mental health duress, we need to send in someone who is trained in de-escalation, who does not use violence, who can intervene appropriately and care for that person. That is a human being, okay? We need to recognize the humanity in them. Okay, Sean is saying there's too much crime for us to have no police whatsoever. Can't get rid of the police until we stop hurting each other. Well, that's the other thing. We have to take accountability for our own behavior. And we need to have, you know, how can we mediate? How can we solve problems? neighbor to neighbor, person to person, without involving the state, okay? And figuring out a way to de-escalate and not have so much violence. Yes, police definitely don't know how to deal with mental health. Let's see, who are some other comments in here? So what do the police commissioners do? Why don't they hold the officers accountable? Well, that's a very good question. Why don't the police commissioners hold officers accountable? And again, it has to do with who appoints the police commission and what their agenda is. So here in San Francisco, we have a 7-member police commission. 4 of the members are appointed by the mayor. 3 are appointed by the board of supervisors. And we have a pro-police mayor, and so many policy decisions and everything vests in the police commission, and it is very important to go and testify at the police commission and monitor it. And we have achieved some victories, but let me tell you, the police are very, very powerful. The Police Officers Association makes all kinds of donations. And they're also a lobbying force. And here in California, the Police Officers Association is allied with the Correctional Officers Association. And they keep, requesting more and more money, not only for police, but also for prison building. Okay? So that's what it's going to... So citizens have to go and say, you know what? Fuck this. We don't want any more prisons. We don't want any more police. We're tired of this. California used to have the #1 public university system in the world. Okay. And then we started building prisons with this 3 strikes, you're out, mass incarceration policy that we have here in California. Then they start building prisons, and that's a big industry. And so what has happened is that over time, the budget for prisons has gone up by 12%, and the budget for universities has gone down by 12%. And that's why people have to pay higher tuition. That's why many, for example, UC Berkeley admits a ton of international students, and doesn't admit as many Californians because they can charge more money to international students. So it has this huge repercussion, and obviously impacting Black and brown communities, #1, but it impacts us all, including white people, because our tax money is going to incarcerate Black and brown people instead of to have the kind of public institutions. And we also know that freaking incarcerating people and hiring more police does not reduce crime, okay? It doesn't do anything to keep us safer. What keeps us safer? When people have jobs, when there's a mental health care system, when people can access health care, okay? When people are not driven to desperation, and when we don't have a situation in which median Black net wealth is projected to be 0 by 2053, and Latinx net wealth projected to be 0 by 2073. And I'm not trying to say here that all people who commit crimes are Black and Latinx. It's actually white people. We just don't get caught, and when we do get caught, we have access to lawyers and all kinds of resources, and we have the benefit of the doubt of the jury, and the jury identifies with us, and all these different things work in our favor so that we don't wind up getting incarcerated as frequently. So all of this to say is that we have to think of a new way. We have to abolish the police. And people are extremely frustrated because these deaths just keep happening over and over and over and over and over and over. And every single one of those people who die is somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's father, somebody's lover, somebody's husband, somebody's wife. They are human beings, folks. They are human beings. And we have to recognize their humanity and say enough is enough already. We are done with this shit and we're not supporting it anymore. Let me see if I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty seeing this because my eyes are so bad. I believe the most realistic approach is to hold them accountable. Trust. Yes. Well, Colette, I agree. If the laws would allow us to hold them accountable, if the institutions would hold them accountable, yes, it would be great to hold them accountable. But the current institutions don't hold them accountable. They are accountable to no one. This is what is really terrifying about this moment, is that, you know, the police got super militarized actually during Obama. Do you remember when there were the tanks rolling down the street in Baltimore? It looked like Sarajevo or Iraq or something. Yes, so they were taking ex-military equipment, you know, that they had used in wars and granting them out to the police. And every single time, police are asking for more intense military equipment. So people think, oh, we give them body cams, they'll be accountable. Guess what? They turn off their body cam. Oh, we give them tasers, you know, then they won't shoot people. Guess what? They kill them with tasers. Tasers are not a solution, folks. I'm telling you, the only solution, and trust me, I spent a lot of time doing this. I spent a lot of hours studying this, talking with people who've been involved in activism for much longer than I am, you know, testifying, protesting, blogging about it. I mean, I spent a lot of time really studying this problem, and I'm telling you, we cannot fix it just by changing the laws. Prosecuting the bad eggs would drop the percentage down to almost zero. We still need protection from bad citizens. I'm telling you, Colette, I wish that prosecuting the bad eggs would be enough, but the problem is the good eggs are paying the dues to prevent the bad eggs from getting prosecuted. This is what I'm telling you. It's like this circular, it's like an institution onto itself that has so shield itself from any form of outside accountability. Let me see who else is, any other questions on here. And please do, if you have a question, let me know what the question is. But thank you so much for joining me. I welcome your thoughts and reflections on this. But yeah, folks, we have a serious problem with police in this country. And I really, this moment, I hope that we can use this moment to unite and once and for all fight to abolish police. Because I'm telling you, we have to, like, the police are making us unsafe. They are not making us safe. They're making us unsafe. And we need to shrink them down to zero and start over. You know, and something that I've thought about, like, wouldn't it be awesome if, like, you know, we could just recruit everyday citizens, like kind of like what I was talking about before with the how everybody had to serve. What if every year, like, you spent 3 weeks or something, a month of service, you know, in your community with other people from your community, all different kinds of people, getting to know each other and learning how to, like, really intervene and protect one another and help each other and see the humanity in each other. I mean, wouldn't that be kind of cool? I think it would be cool. And we wouldn't have guns or anything. We'd just, like, wear t-shirts And we could also like clean the streets and just make our community better. I know that some people may think I'm too idealistic, but I think that's what we need. We need to get to know each other. We need to bridge divides of race, age, sex, sexual orientation, and we need to learn how to communicate, how to embrace conflict. Conflict is not necessarily a bad thing, folks. Conflict, we can grow from conflict. We can mediate conflict. We can use our creativity to figure out solutions that meet both people's needs on both sides of the conflict. We can reduce harm. We can help. So much of the reason why violence occurs is between family members and people who love each other and everything. Like, what if we could learn how to heal those conflicts, and so it doesn't escalate into this big thing, but we could really protect one another. It is possible. I know some people think, and I trust me, when I started in police accountability activism and old time activists would be like, abolish police and we need community restorative justice and stuff, I'd be looking at them like, that, abolish police? Like, really? Like, what? That's so radical. Well, we could never do that. And that would never work. But I am telling you, we would be so much safer. So much safer. I completely believe that. Okay. Thank you all. Hi, Shlomit. Hi, Tracy Lynn. I'm sorry I got a little long-winded here. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Kreya. Oh my God, so nice to see you on here. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Julia Brightman. It's so lovely to see you all. And please let me know your thoughts. And you are so welcome. Whoever said thanks, Karen. I appreciate it. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Bye now.